All right, we're live. Hey, how's everybody doing out there tonight? I'm in the middle of about 3 different things right now. I'm texting some friends, watching the UFC, and I'm about to sit down and watch a film because I have ADD and I want to see if I can multitask on this because the last couple have been just so fucking clear cut and focused and centered. I really want to try and broaden my horizons and really see if I can weed out some of the fucking nerds in this fucking world. Fucking, oh fuck, I think I'm gonna have to already start the man. But yeah, I'm having fun doing this. I actually nutted up. I had to do some heavy editing on the Black Klansman one that I did because I don't want my point to come across as insensitive. But it's a delicate subject matter, so I don't want to like completely just put myself into a spot or paint myself into a corner with an opinion or something. But it's not bad. Give it a check if you're interested. If you like what I'm doing, I just watch movies, no real opinion other than what I'm presented with, and that's about it. In that case of that one, I had to Google a little bit afterwards, but it was because I was so damn impressed by the movie. I was interested in getting to know a little bit more about the guy, so yeah, it was pretty cool. But yeah, I got UFC on, watching some fights tonight. And I thought it'd be a good excuse to watch a movie that I believe I've seen before. I'm 100% not kidding when I say this movie is either something that I haven't seen or it was so forgettable and bad that I've just completely omitted it from memory, which there's a pretty good chance I've done because I do not remember. I remember seeing this movie and being like, oh, Miles Teller, he's kind of a weird looking dude. He kind of does look like he boxes. I could see him fitting this role quite well. But then there's no like follow up to that thought. It's just, I just think he looks funny. I think he looks like somebody that's been, God beat him over the fucking head with the funny hammer. What the fuck am I saying? I smoked literally smoked way too much fucking weed before I hopped on mic because I'm watching, right now it's, Arujo versus Chu Kogan, and it looks like Arujo's about to fucking choke Chu Kogan. Nah, she doesn't have it. I don't think she's tapping. But yeah, well, I'm watching real fights. I wanted to watch a fucking actor pretend to fight because that always amuses me. My personal favorite is Mark Wahlberg because for some reason, no matter how fucking tough he thinks he is, he beat up a fucking Vietnamese guy, and for some reason, instead of people hating him and there being any like repercussions from that, we just keep giving him roles as tough guys and pretend like it didn't happen. When in reality, he's a bully. It's fucking funny to me. So yeah, if you ever get the chance to check out Mark Wahlberg's movie The Fighter, that's actually pretty cool. Mickey Ward was a fucking dope boxer. It's a real interesting story. His brother was a fuck up, but had I forget who he fucking knocked out. Sugar Ray Leonard, maybe? No, I'm fucking that up. But yeah, he knocked some dude out, and like then immediately started smoking crack, and it was a pretty compelling story. But I remember from probably previews that I think Miles Teller has just really bad CTE and just becomes an asshole. And this, I'm not entirely sure if this is even based on a true story or if it's just a complete dramatization of like an amalgamation of several stories, which boxers are all over the fucking world, and I'm sure that no matter how hard they try to fictionalize or dramatize this shit, it's like someone's gonna be like, oh yeah, that happened to a buddy of mine. Like, it just happens. Everybody fucking boxed back in the 60s and 70s, so like that's when people started cultivating that fucking opinion. But I should also say that I should point out that like I'm the only reason I judge specifically like boxing movies is because I'm a huge fan of like mixed martial arts, boxing, any kind of combat sports. If it's on, I'm watching it. I don't know why. I've always been compelled. Fuck, I like hockey. Because it's the one sport you're allowed to fucking drop the gloves and throw hands. I think that the world would get along a lot more if there wasn't such severe penalties and like everybody wasn't so fucking sue happy and about like just getting hit in the fucking face. Like, it's a humbling experience. And if you haven't, I highly recommend you go get into a fight immediately. Go down to your local pub and just start spouting off about whatever the fuck you want. And see if you can antagonize people to the point of getting hit in the face, because it really does create some humbling. It humbles you. It definitely quells the id and makes you realize that you might be pretty tough, or you might be not made of glass, but people can still put you on your ass no matter how you are. I'm 5'6". I'm a fucking midget. Jesus Christ. Got my alarm going off. But yeah, we got 5 more minutes. I think we can do this. That was a pretty cool sound, though. I heard that through the headphones, but it vibrated through the microphone because my microphone's sitting on a box right now. So yeah, it's picking up all sorts of weird ambiance, but it sounds pretty good when I play it through the mixer. So whatever. But yeah, there's something about boxing I've always just been captivated by, and I think that, like I said, punching in general. The point I was getting at was that I think it would be a lot better in society if you had the ability, you and someone get in a disagreement, instead of going right to the police, instead of going right to in America's case, the firearms, I guess. Everybody just takes it outside. You hit each other in the face a few times. Whoever gets them on the ground, break it up. Everybody goes and sits for 5 minutes in the penalty box. You get a beer with whoever it is, and then you settle it diplomatically. You just let the boil over, do what it needs to do, and then duke it out like men. And you know what? If we started resolving issues that way, I think that there would be a lot more peace and harmony in this country. But instead, it's like you just got people riled up on either fucking side, and they don't know how to solve it diplomatically because everybody just thinks they're right. We have Facebook where you can write a fucking novel, and then the response is LOL, didn't read, whatever. And it ultimately doesn't. It's not even close to what the basic necessities for communication are. It's just it's complete nonsense, and people are taking this word like gospel right now. Like, people just believe everything they see on fucking social media or Google, or in my case 4chan. Like, I don't believe everything I see on there. It's entertainment, and you should treat it as such. But just instead of just getting angry and then going right for each other's throats, or letting it eat away at you, if you just get that aggression out, fucking understand I was clearly right, I won, or I got my ass kicked, I'm wrong, and then have a beer about it, I think there'd be a lot better, we'd have a lot more unified people. I'm running out of fucking words here. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me right now. Did have a long day at work. Don't ever tip waitresses. They don't deserve it. And I don't care. I really don't give a shit at this point. Yeah, I am so over this. I work in kitchens, and I'm so over this fucking season already. The part of the reason I need to fucking do this is because if I don't just sit here and observe someone else's art and their interpretation of the world, I would probably just be fucking a miserable, depressed wretch. And this is helping. I don't know why, but this is helping. And if you're interested in listening to my schizophrenic therapy via SoundCloud, by all means, I hope that this might help you. Maybe it'll point you in the right direction of a few good flicks. Maybe it's just funny to point and laugh at me, which, whatever, I don't mind. That's what I'm here for. But yeah, so, back to it. I love me some boxing movies. I'm a big fan of Rocky. Grew up right outside of Philadelphia. Fucking Sylvester Stallone is a legend, even though he's a fucking walking meme before memes were even a fucking part of the zeitgeist. Cat was Rocky. He's born for that role. Shit. Who doesn't like that? It's an underdog story. Rocky IV, he goes over there and he takes on Ivan fucking Drago and shows those commie sons of bitches who's boss. Because he found his balls after Apollo died. But yeah, it's just, these movies, they're fun, they're entertaining, they're high, usually pretty high octane. It's it's a good time. So without further ado, I don't know anything about this movie. Like I said, it seemed forgettable. If not, I haven't seen it. So my slate is blank going into this blind. We're going to watch. I don't even know who the fuck directed this. Let's see. Ben Younger. All right, so we're watching Ben Younger's Bleed for This. Check. Okay, we're on. Fuck yeah. All right, so Bleed for This. Pretty good movie. About 6.5 out of 10, I'd say. I do remember this movie. I remember watching this movie. I think I did the exact same thing I did this time where I was like, oh, cool, boxing movie. And then it just kind of got overshadowed by other more memorable ones. Specifically, The Fighter, and I think the film called War or Warrior, I'm pretty sure, which isn't a boxing one, it's about MMA. But yeah, this one, it's a pretty fucking interesting story. You ascertain this from what I have been watching lately. I've been kind of favoring the more nonfiction films, and I do like that this is like something that is based on a true story. I mean, I'm a total nerd, so I have to go Google everything, and I looked up this dude, Vinny Vinny Pazienza. He fought by Vinny Paz, so we'll just call him that from here on out. But yeah, Vinny Paz. He was an active boxer from 1983 to about 2000. Looked up his record. He was like 50-10, which ain't bad. It's a winning record. Got knocked out a few times, some of which having to do with his neck injury later in. And he was just, it didn't look like he was like fighting championships too long, after the one that's featured in this film. I mean, he did. He defended a couple titles, but he won. He's a winning fighter and an interesting fighter too. It kind of hits close to home because I live right outside of Atlantic City, and every time I see that, this guy like was pretty heavy in Atlantic City. He fought in Boardwalk Hall in the '80s, which is pretty fucking cool in my opinion. Because I've always wanted to go see live, like either boxing or MMA as an adult, and I've never had the opportunity to do that. Even though back when things were more normal before lockdown and shit, they would do MMA fights at Ocean's Casino, which is fucking dope because you'd be able to bet on the fights. And if you didn't have tickets, you could just sit in the sports book and watch fights that were going on, 50 feet away, which cool. I mean, some people are like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why don't you just get a ticket and go? But I'm cheap, hence why I rent movies from the library and pirate them online. So, I like this one. This one was pretty good. Like I said, not the most memorable boxing movie, not even really the most memorable Miles Teller movie, but he did great. The acting was done, fantastically. The family drama was a little cliche, a little too close to there's certain beats that every boxing movie from what I've seen has hit. A couple of like the worried family, worried mother thing is just like, all right, like we get it. The Fighter did a pretty good job. I'm going to compare heavily to that because I think they of most recent movies, that was probably the one that did the best. And I think Rogan's done a pretty good job breaking it down. So I'm not going to get too far into it, but I am going to use it as a, benchmark for comparison. This didn't have too many pitfalls. It had a few cliches. One nitpick I do have is the gambling shit is like, it drove me a little insane. The split tens thing was like, first off, like, if you're not counting cards, splitting tens is a completely understandable thing. You might get a 22 on one of the tens, but then the other one you got like a nice juicy like 18 or whatever. It's not like unfounded, and it didn't look like in that scene they set it up in any way, shape, or form that these dudes were counting cards or doing anything of the sorts. So like, I don't know, that bothered me. And then the craps thing was just like, holy fucking shit. I am an absolute spurg for craps, for any dice games that is. So like Sick Bow, like anything in a casino that has fucking dice, I'm in. And one thing, there's like a scene where they're all supposed to be going to bed before the fight where he gets knocked out by Mayweather, George Mayweather, I believe. Like the father or the manager, I forget which one. The guy with the starchy blonde hair, that he's playing craps and he's rolling the dice, and then he rolls the dice, the outcome happens, and he cheers, but then the Barker guy goes and collects on the pass line, but they're cheering. So like, they had field bets, but a field bet is only a 2-1. So like if you hit like aces or box cars, that would pay. I don't know where they are. I'm assuming in Vegas, so probably 2-1 on the 2 and 3-1 on the 12. But like either way, you're just winning your money back. It's called like a hedge, and that's usually like a come out hedge, because when you play craps, 7 is the bad number, except on a come out roll where 7 is the good number. 7 and 11 are. But then once a point's established, 7 is the bad number, and 11 is irrelevant unless you have a field bet. But yeah, it's like it looked like he was doing the strategy that I kind of used. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I watched them collect the fucking pass, and I'm like, what the fuck are you cheering about? Like, I highly doubt you had any of the fucking one roll bets on there that would justify you cheering that much. Like, I mean, maybe you placed box cars or like, aces or something like that. But even so, it's like you could lose it back just as easily by like either letting that bet ride because it's a one roll bet. I don't fucking know. It bothered me. I'm not going to get fucking hung up on that though. Fucking let it bleed for this. I'm going to go back to this. But yeah, good movie. Good movie. The fights were pretty well choreographed. I watched a little bit of his boxing highlights on YouTube, like right before I logged on to this. Fired the podcast up. Fuck. I also should explain that I started watching this movie last night and then fell asleep on my couch because I was like, okay, I have seen this movie before. I got to the part where they unscrew the halo from his head. I'm like, yeah, I've definitely seen this before. I remember this happening. And I remember looking up and remembering it's a real fucking story. But, I ended up falling asleep. So I watched the last 40 minutes of it and then hopped on here, and I got to head to work in a little bit. But yeah, fucking, it was pretty fucking good. I watched it in 2 chunks, so, take that for what it's worth. Then I'm not saying that you should do that, but what I'm saying is I'm tired, and this is getting rambly already. So let's get focused. I get a little brain juice in me. But yeah, so I like the choreography of the fights. It's not done in a way where it's trying to be overly cinematic, but it does a good job of like keeping a visual interest going on a boxing match, which most of the time a points boxing match that goes all the way to the fucking 12th round, into the championship rounds. It's like a fucking, by like the 6th who's kind of in control. In this case, Vinny turns it around in the 7th. It's one of those things where I'm like, okay, like now it's a points match, and it's going to be like one of those ones where they're going to light each other up a bunch, but they're not going to go down, or they're not going to stay down. They're going to try and keep getting back up. They're not going to let the count run out. And if they get on the ropes, they're going to just like end up going to like a clinch and like trying to weigh the other guy down and buying some time, let him rest, put a little weight on him. Did a good fucking job making what would probably be a rather boring fight to watch like in its entirety. Visually interesting, made the drama very visual, which is good. Little pitfalls, but the crowd action's great. They got an entire arena of people, and it's still fucking strange to me because like I just watched the Canelo fight a couple of days ago, and then last night I watched that fucking Oliveira fight. That was a fucking nightmare for Chandler. Fucking Chandler was fucking tagging him, and he had him on the ground. He was hitting him so hard that his head was bouncing off the mat, but he still like had his wits about him, so the ref didn't break it up, and then he gets clipped in the fucking second. Like, shit like that is weird when there's no crowd there, but then there was a crowd there, and it was even weirder to me. And I'm like watching this, and I know this is like set in the 90s. It's fucking bizarre to me still to just see like a crowd of people that like have a reaction that kind of dictates a fight. So that hit me in a weird way, and maybe it will for you guys too, because everybody's been going through this. I don't know if anybody here is a fan of boxing or like sports fans in general, but like just having crowds slowly go back into the fucking stands is just kind of surreal, and it's refreshing, but it's surreal. Like they the other day I was watching the Phillies game, and I kept hearing all it was the Phillies Mets where they swept the Mets. All the Phillies fans were calling the fucking umpire a bitch, and it was fucking hilarious. But it's like the crowds are so sparse that you can really hear the crowd noise. Sometimes you can hear the players swearing at each other. You can hear Girardi going after an umpire, which is fucking awesome. But yeah, like I digress. It's really cool, like that they did such a good job. Like the cinematic elements of this movie are really where it thrives. I think that's one of the pitfalls of some sports movies. There's one with I want to say Jake Gyllenhaal that was on Netflix. It's not bLeEd for this. It's like Brawler. No, that's the one with the fucking goon guy. I can't remember his name. Him and Gaffigan are selling cocaine. The fucking Bayonne brawler. That's fucking Lieb Schreiber. That one kind of sucked. That fuck, like they just put out such like generic movies once in a while that when you do find like a good middle of the road one where it's like fuck, that was entertaining, it's like you also gotta like be like, yeah, don't watch all the crap, because it's not going to translate if you have like a mild understanding. Like if you want to go watch some like emotionally laden movie where you're gonna see like drama set in the like fucking Cinderella Man, like that's a fucking interesting movie. The Raging Bull, another perfect example of like that's just a drama that's kind of set with the backdrop of like boxing. All, good in its own respects. Excellent fucking Scorsese film. There's a lot like, but this was one of those ones where it was the right amount of personal, shit where he has to overcome getting in a car accident and basically regaining his entire mobility and working out like under his dad's nose, which is pretty fascinating. It's not fascinating to the extent where it's like as groundbreaking as like the Mickey Ward and Dickie whatever his fucking face is story. But yeah, like it's still pretty good. I've got no complaints about this. It held my attention. After realizing I'm watching it through for the second time, I gave it a little bit more like leeway, because I'm like, okay, if I've seen this, I probably didn't shut it off. This is familiar to me. But yeah, it wraps up into a nice little package nicely. I like that. So there's some minor nitpicks, as always. I'm a fucking perfectionist. I don't think that everybody can set out to make Repo Man every fucking time, or, RoboCop. Like, you can have an imperfect film that still is, captivating and entertaining and gets what it's trying to say across. And this story was like, as I said, my gripes have tended to be more with not the production, because we're at such an echelon of production right now where cameras are pretty abundant and you can make things look both cinematic or lit correctly. You can go as far as to make like a sitcom studio in your house in your spare bedroom, or you can get like a red one for like I think like $12,000 now, and get like some nice Zeiss lenses and make like some fucking Sergio Leone 70mm shots that like come out real cool in 4K. So like you have like all of this really cool technology at your disposal. So like really what it falls down to, what it falls down back on is like some other shit. That being the production designs and like the art departments, which is when I worked on movies, the few that I did, the handful of movies that I was on, I worked in the art department as well, what was called a hottie. I would mix hot cement for the plastering crew, and then come in and take buckets full of cement, pull buckets back, mix them more cement, and then if they needed something finished or they needed a break because it really tires your arms out, I'd hop in and do some smoothing and some surfacing. But I was like kind of an apprentice. But like that's more what the bulk of the production falls on. I once heard Bam Margera describing doing a music video where everything was green screened, where green screen has its purpose. You can't film everything on a practical set, and we live in an age of technology where if you write a good enough film, a green screen will be kind of like wallpaper. It doesn't matter that it's CGI. You just need to get the point across, and the writing needs to carry the lack of like set really. So it has its purpose, but like, right now it's like everything is just green screen and poorly written. So you're like, oh, you all you have to do is really, what Bam said basically was, all you have to do is make sure shit's in focus. And like ever since then, it's kind of given me like a sour opinion of people that overly rely on that, like your Michael Bay's. The movie I worked on where we green screened the entire thing was fucking Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and like it just came out looking like dog shit. They could have built that set, but they're budgeting reasons. They probably were fucking paying actors more than they're fucking worth to do a job that children could fucking do. I was mixing cement, making $1,500 a week. What am I doing complaining? But anyway, that's not the point. Yeah, like the writing on this, because it's like a nonfiction story, or at least like a dramatization of a nonfiction story, like, it was fine. It held up. There's no like it's a very passionate story, as the Vinny Paz is his passion was doing this. The film was called bLeEd for this, so he clearly like he bled for every inch that he took of dick. No, every inch of like milestones that he was trying to dig. He literally bled for. Like, he had to go up in weight classes, which I looked it up. It's not unheard of, and especially now with like MMA, where there's like these multi belt like title holders. I think Diaz is the one that I'm thinking of right now, but like I know McGregor's bounced around on weights, and that's in UFC. Boxing's a little bit, it's a little bit tighter, but there's like so many fucking leagues right now. There's always been a plethora of leagues. You got a wide variety of different boxing styles and what draws you have, but like there's, it's all over the place. British boxing is completely different than Mexican boxing, which is completely different than, fucking boxing in Africa and fucking China. China's a great example too, because they have professional boxers that are Olympic tier, but they come over here and they fight Mexican boxers because they're in the same weight class. But it's like a complete and total mismatch in either direction. It's fucking bizarre, but shit happens. So it is, not not understated, but they should really kind of like express how dangerous it is going from, especially like cutting that steeply. Like, apparently, like, he did cut pretty steeply and wasn't very comfortable fighting. I think they said at 140. But yeah, like you're super dehydrated. Your muscles are beyond dehydrated, so you don't have as much gas in the tank. Like, you have good cardio, but you have to also absorb blows. So like, it's understandable that there's an element of danger to cutting, but also going in the opposite direction. Now you're adjusted to kind of your walking around weight, but now you're adding weight to that, so you're getting stronger and your muscles are getting stronger, but at the same time that's going to wear your heart out, and your lungs are now carrying more of the burden to get oxygen to said muscles that are now bigger and absorbing more of it. It's like it's this weird delicate balance of like trying to find that beautiful, like, perfect weight class to fight in, and then like, but fighters they're alphas, man. They get bored, they want to go up, they want to go down, they want to fight anybody that fucking looks at them the wrong way in the ring. And it's, it's cool. It's really neat. But like I think they kind of undersold the danger element of it. Like they undersold the danger element. I mean, not undersold it, but they like kind of like not glossed over it. But like, this dude had a fucking neck injury. He should not have been walking, let alone like lifting weights and fighting. But like, sure enough, he did make the recovery, and that's fucking true. And they were back then, I guess the Halo thing too was borderline experimental. They didn't really like. They say it, but it's like kind of in passing that like it's like, oh yeah, like we don't even know it'll work. But like, I guess it was like an experimental procedure sort of at that time. Not like they weren't like doing like something like detaching and replacing limbs, but like, it is something where, hey, if we fuck this up, you're gonna have to get your spine fused, and you're probably not even gonna be able to turn your neck for the rest of your life if this thing doesn't work. So like, it is what it is. I don't know if the part about him getting it removed without painkillers is true, but if he did, that is fucking badass. I know a couple fighters personally. The one that I met, I have a friend, Mark, who works at an MMA gym, and we went last year to go see, 2 years ago now at this point. We went to go see his buddy who was training at his gym, Federico Flores, Derek. He's a really cool guy. Shout out Derek. I hope you're still doing well, man. I know you moved back to, I think, New Mexico or Arizona, wherever. But yeah, I watched him fight. He finished a dude in the first round, and then I got drunk and hung out with him and Mark for a whole bunch. But yeah, super fucking cool guy, super nice guy, and like fucking brawlers, man. Like real authentic brawlers are like real fucking people. They're real nice to talk to. Like I said, it comes back to what I said in the first segment last night. Which is like, yeah, something about like getting hit in the face. It really does give you kind of this perspective on life. Like, these are showmen, and I love the showmanship of it. Like, especially that Canelo fight the other day. It is a fucking 65-minute fucking production just to get them from the locker room to the fucking corner. With a mariachi band and like national anthems and everything. But like, that being said, it does it has this, flaunt to it that brings, like it elevates the fighting, because it's like you now have so much more riding on this. Like, there's money, there's the title, there's like your respect from your coaches, the other boxers' coaches, but now you also have like put on this song and dance, like a literal, like you've literally amped yourself up, where if you do go down, that looks so much worse than if you were to just walk out and like whatever, but like it heightens it, and like this does it. I don't know what Paz was as far as like a a showman. Like it doesn't really come across that way, but it's cool when you see that. It's it elevates it. I would have liked to kind of get to know the characters he fought a little bit more. Like there's not it seems like he's had a couple laps in like he would change weight class or like change like take a fight with another fighter for a non-title fight, like just a bout, and like he would have a couple laps in like consistency, I guess, like in weight classes. But I would have liked to have seen like maybe more of a rivalry, like because he did fight this the French guy that they allude to. He fought him once, but then there was another guy in there they mentioned they fought like 5 times, and I would have liked to have seen more of like a spirited rivalry in this, like with a singular focused person. But the fact that they didn't, the fact that they did kind of explore like the trajectory of his career, going from Mayweather to the French gentleman, then to the guy at the end, the Mexican boxer that he goes to the 12th round with, goes the distance with. Yeah, like it was very well done, and I enjoyed that. It didn't subvert any expectations, but it is kind of nice to see more of a marrying of like the dude's entirety. Like you get a better picture of like who the character was, and like not only that, but like after overcoming like a life-changing injury like that, not exactly the easiest thing to do, to just like step back into a combat sport, and knowing that there was people that were willing to like the people were willing to fight him at a professional level when his own gym wouldn't train with him. That's pretty fucking that's pretty interesting, and it does set the table quite nicely for just how much pressure there was on him, and like how much was riding on that fight that the movie concludes with. So I liked it. I think that if you're a fan of any sport, this would be a good film for you. It's a nice, entertaining, like I said, you don't have to turn your mind off, but at the same time, it's a relaxing movie. It's you don't have to think too hard about it, but it is pretty like cool. It's not the most mind-blowing story, but even in regards to boxing, like not even fucking remotely close. I reserve that Hurricane is the coolest story, and I can't get into why. Maybe down the road I will, but that movie is a bunch of bullshit. Denzel Washington is a racist guy. That I have no problem saying he hates white people and doesn't believe that he believes black people are infallible, which is fucked up. But yeah, the movie Hurricane, that Bob Dylan song, it's all bullshit. I know somebody personally that witnessed the Hurricane Carter murders, and the guy was guilty, dead to rights. He's cruising around in the backseat of some guy's car trying to get out of Patterson. And it's like, no, it wasn't just some random happenstance thing. Like, that's a pretty fucking crazy story. I wish I had the ability. I've been kind of on the toying with the idea of doing a documentary about it, or at least like trying to like plot it out, because I know this guy personally that witnessed it, and it's not really mentioned on Wikipedia. He's just some guy I know, and I can't allude to too much without his permission. But yeah, like he has some pretty fucking like convincing evidence. Like he was the story's pretty crazy, and like I said, I'll see if I can get a little more information. Maybe we'll watch Hurricane down the road. But yeah, Denzel's full of shit, and like it's another reason that I always, at any opportunity, will trash actors, because all they are is fucking egotistical fucks, and they'll say anything that will get a response. Most of the time, they want a positive response because their egos are so fucking delicate that they can't handle negative criticism without somebody handling it for them and like telling them how to respond. But the other thing too is that they all feel the urge to, like, because they're in the public spotlight, they need to be like seen as either philanthropists or like humanitarians, or like take some kind of angle in which, like, because acting is so fucking easy and it's not a real job. You have to pretend like you're doing something serious so that you don't just like sit around getting high on coke all day and banging hookers or eating people like Armie Hammer did. But yeah, but like there's Denzel is just a fucking racist, and if you have any fucking problems about that, please, like, I encourage you to light me up about it. I will fucking I know personally people that have worked with him where he refuses to let white people on set look him in the eye, and you know what? That's fucked. and it's a symptom of this fucking, one of the reasons that I'm no longer pursuing working in the film industry. I didn't kiss the right rings, and I guess I don't fucking have any opportunity as far as going back into that line of work, at least in the union element of it, because of that. But all that being said, that's a nice little racist rant to end this with, on the heels of BlacKkKlansman. But yeah, I enjoyed this movie, and I would love to further discuss. If you guys like boxing movies, or if anybody has suggestions in general, I think Lee's the only one that's expressed that he's listened to this, and I hope Camille has listened to it too, because I posted that movie that he mentioned, the first episode I did. But I'm having fun doing this, and any suggestions are greatly appreciated, and thanks for listening. Oh, I suppose I get to use my favorite, like a little applause break on the way out. Studio audience seems to be loving it too. All right, well, thank you, and have a good day.